Thank you, Dr. Nagendra Babu, sir, for the insightful session.
A lovely good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If I see all of you, I am only reminded of a famous Tyagaraja Kirtana, which simply says, Yendulo Mahanubhavulu, mi andariki na vandanam. Friends, it is very interesting that you are living in a wonderful time in the history of this world. And this world has seen disruptions that it has not seen in the last 300 years. And you would be seeing probably much more than any of us in our generation saw on this earth. And probably you are rightly poised to take on the next big revolutions and disruptions, which is coming more like an avalanche. What I will show you here is a few of those kind of disruptions, how one could really enjoy this wonderful journey. And that is the reason why I have termed this as Industry 5.0 and the kind of different things that are happening all around the globe. How many of you have seen Indian Institute of Science? If some of you have not come, I urge you to visit this great institution, because this is one of the very unusual places which existed before India got independence. So IISC has been there since 1909, and that's the main building that you would see. And Aerospace department has been there from 1942, just after the First World War. Go to the next one, please. I don't know if you recognize all the different photos that you see on this particular slide. Maybe do you recognize Swami Vivekananda? Do you understand or do you recognize any other names there? The one at the top, bottommost is Jamshedji Nusurwanji Tata, J.N. Tata. I don't think you would recognize the other two portraits that I have shown there. In fact, there is a very interesting story about Indian Institute of Science. I thought I would share on the occasion of 93rd birthday of Dr. Kalam. Can you go to the next one slide? This is the original letter which was written by J.N. Tata to Swami Vivekananda. Both of them seems to have met on the journey to Vancouver, and Swamiji was actually going to address the World Parliament of Religion. And then J.N. Tata was essentially going there to get steel making technology to this great Jamshedpur plant. And this letter is very interesting, and I was fortunate to get a copy of this letter and hand it over to Dr. Kalam during our centenary celebration. Until then, nobody thought Swami Vivekananda and J.N. Tata had actually met. Swamiji seems to have asked J.N. Tata, what is the purpose of your journey? He seems to have remarked, I am going there to get steel making technology. Watch my words, budding engineers. J.N. Tata said, I am going there to get steel making technology. That great Hindu monk immediately retorted, Westerners may give you technology, but who will teach you material science? It was that one spark that J.N. Tata already was planning to have an institution for ancient aesthetics and wisdom. In fact, he writes that who else other than you can be the best champion of an institution where ancient aesthetics gets combined with modern science. Go to the previous slide, please. It was around the same time after Swami Vivekananda and J.N. Tata, both of them were not alive when IISc came into being. But when J.N. Tata died, he divided his property into two parts. He regarded this yet-to-be-born Science Institute as his own son. And even today, we get rent from the properties which are named in IISc in Nariman Point, Mumbai. We get about 3.5 crores. That is thought leadership, friends. That is thought leadership. And that great lady whom you see in the center, she is the mother of Nalvadi Krishnaraja Wadayar, who was the king of Mysore. But in fact, when IISc came into being, Nalvadi Krishnaraja Wadayar, whose photo you see on the top, he was only 9 years old. That great mother, when Padamsha and Sister Nivedita went to Mysore Samsthana asking for land, she said, take as much land as you want. And the kind of land we got in those days was 484 acres. Today in IISC, 1 feet, square feet, 45,000 rupees. Imagine the kind of donation that that great lady did. But she never stepped into the campus of IISC even once. What is more ironical, friend, when she said to the first British director, Maurice Travers, that I want to institute a scholarship so that poor people can take up science, the first British director refused to institute a scholarship. Still this lady kept on donating 50,000 rupees to Indian Institute of Science till 1947. That is thought leadership. Friends, Kalam was probably one of the most amazing thought leaders we have seen in modern India during our own lifetime. But I have also shown you Mysore sandal soap there. I don't know how many of you use Mysore sandal soap. Mysore sandal soap patent was actually developed in Indian Institute of Science Industrial Chemistry Department. Patent was sold for 8 rupees and 30 annas in 1938. Don't think innovations happen only today. Innovations have been happening on the face of this earth since time immemorial. Even today, Mysore Sandal Soap Factory is hardly about 1.5 kilometers from IISc. The reason why I showed this is, we should always remember 3 people in our life. Please don't forget the first nursery teacher who welcomed you into the nursery when you came out of the laps of your mother. Don't forget your father or mother. And of course, don't forget your friends. We should always think of remembering these 3 people in life. Big salute to the founding, pranams to the founding fathers. Go to the next one, please. Next one. This is a common question that I just want to address today because all of you are engineering students. Everybody has a doubt, sir, what is engineering, what is science, and what is technology? Correct? Do you have such doubts or you don't have such doubts? If you don't have such doubts also, please start thinking in this line. I am taking a parallel from, say, maybe the Puranas. I am a big fan of the ancient Indian tradition because if you don't understand your culture and nature, there is no future. It is very important for us to understand our culture and our outer nature. Brahmadeva is somebody who is actually responsible for all the creation. A new information, a new thought always comes from basic science. And that is why nobody recognizes science. Society doesn't recognize science. Society always wants to look at products, always wants to look at technology. Whereas without good science, there can be no engineering, there can be no technology. Then you will ask me a question, sir, what is really science is? Because you are very fond of definitions, right? In my view, a systematic, logical way of understanding outer nature is actually science. You should learn the habit of asking question why and finding answers to that. In fact, there is a vacancy for 30,000 prompt engineers today in the society. And the job of prompt engineers is to ask right kind of questions. Maybe use ChatGPT or GitHub. So you all should learn to ask questions by which you can understand outer nature. That is why in India for Brahmadeva you don't have many temples. Probably 1 or 2 temples because no one remembers science after 2nd PUC. Till then everybody says study science, science, science. But the moment you get into engineering, you only do physics, chemistry, mathematics in the first 2 semesters. Afterwards all the teachers of science departments are only organizing exams and cultural duty in engineering colleges, which is a very sad state of affairs. Then you will ask me, what is engineering? Engineering is all about asking a question, why not? And engineering I always compare with Narayana. Narayana is not just Dashavatara. He has got several avatars, including Swiggy, Zomato. In fact, in India today, we produce close to 23 lakh engineers. Out of that, only about 84,000 are employable. Remaining people are all finding some job or the other in this country. So you are all good Narayana, not just Dashavatar, but several avatars you have. But then what is technology? Technology is more like Shiva. The day a new technology is born, it is bound to die. It is in this wonderful loop of Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, that we are trying to look at Industry 5.0. Can you go to the next one? In the recent time, of course, go to the next one. You are also talking about two more things, namely Ma Saraswati, and also in the same time you are also talking about Krishna. Lord Krishna, in some sense, when he opened his mouth to Ma Yashoda, he saw the entire world. That is the story, right? And that story is almost like the first scanning electron microscope that you would have ever imagined. And today, knowledge is money. Knowledge is wealth. How do you convert information into knowledge, and that knowledge becoming your wisdom will fetch you jobs? And it is in this context, friends, you should look at how Industry 5.0 has emerged. Go to the next one. Of course, Industry 5.0 in one slide I have just compared here. People have talked about several industrial revolution. But what is very special about Industry 5.0 is from mass production, we are now moving towards mass customization. Everybody wants everything to be unique. You all have cell phones here. Have you ever wondered what is the science behind a cell phone? You don't care. You want to go to the shop. You want to get Apple iPhone free of cost. That is the value of product or technology. Nobody bothers about what is there inside, and that is the reason why we don't even look at fundamental science very carefully. From today, I want you to do a very simple experiment. Please go back to your own kitchen and find out what kind of kitchen chemistry is at work. Your mother makes wonderful food for you. All of you would be eating, say, rice. Maybe you should figure out how rice is made, what kind of nutrients that it have, how does it get digested in our human body. These are all questions one should ask about. The curiosity-driven questioning is what science is all about. And that is actually now coming back in a big way in the era of Industry 5.0. If you have some new information by which you can understand and make a difference, you are wanted. Nobody is interested in your degrees. Degrees are there only to get and study. But then tomorrow if someone is going to pay you money, it is all only depends upon what kind of skill sets do you have. Go to the next one, please. Friends, I just want you to just think for a moment. I don't know whether you have asked such question. Human body is probably one of the most complicated evolutionary thing that you can ever see of. In fact, do you know that it has taken 33 million years from an amoeba to Homo sapien? We have evolved over 33 million years. In our human body, friends, we have something like 37.2 trillion cells. How much is 1 trillion? 1 trillion is 1,000 billion. And you don't even think that we have such a complicated system. Every second, there is a million reactions that are taking place in our body. There are 100 billions in our brain which are working in unison. And there is more than 120,000 kilometers of blood vessel in our body. Every second, this heart keeps on pumping. Did you know that nature has given you that wonderful gift? And what is that gift? Whether you like it or not, in a day, 2 bypasses are actually happening to all of us. And 1 bypass surgery is actually equivalent to 6 lakh rupees, which means everybody sitting in this audience, we are not millionaires. We are actually multi-billionaires. Just count 2 bypass surgeries in a day. And even if you take 2 lakh rupees, it becomes 4 lakh. And 4 into 30 will be 1.2 crore is your worth. We never value this body. And this body, friends, I want you to do one simple thing from today onwards. I don't care whether you study, whether you repeat after me, nothing. Please sweat every day. If you don't play games and sweat every day, your deha sthiti will not be all right. Friends, please remember, if your body, deha sthiti is all right, if your manosthiti is fine, if your atma sthiti is fine, your paristhiti will take care of itself. We all talk of so many big things in life. We have wonderful body. We have a very nice waste disposal system. But unfortunately here we do not have a waste disposal system. We have all kinds of junk thoughts which are there in our body, in our mind. The day we learn how to control this thought process, life will be very, very pleasant. It is in this context we are looking at all kinds of sensors. In fact, Australians last week, they claimed they have built a bionic eye. NASA spent $25 billion on bionic eye, yet they could not sustain. Please take care of your body. There can be no robotic arm better than your arm. So we all should learn how to take care of our body. Don't take it for granted. Go to the next one, please. What is it that you should do in your university education? University education, please learn to lose jobs. What you are learning in college today will not fetch you food even for 4 years. If you think I am very happy, I will get a degree, I will get a job and settle down, God only save you, because you will be kicked out of the job not more than 4 years' time. They are all becoming irrelevant. I popularly call this as what is called as a 5-4-3-2-1 syndrome. I don't know if you have heard about this. Life is not all about 5-figure salary, 1 4-wheeler, 1 3-bedroom house, 1 boy or 1 girl, 1 husband or 1 wife. No. Life is far beyond that. Your job and your passion are two different things in life. So what you would see in the next important arena in Industry 5.0 is whether you are adaptable, whether you are ready to learn new things every day. As long as I live, so long do I learn, said Swami Paramahamsa. You should be willing to learn every day. And that learning process is till you die. Even your grandfather learned how to use a mobile phone at an age of 90. Can't you learn at an age of 19? You will be able to do. So it is very important for you to have not sofa set, TV set, dining set in the home. Right mindset is very important. Clear? Go to the next one, please. Lot of disruptions you will see. Humans will live probably 150 years. This is my own personal musing. You will find all kinds of things, including flying cars into colonizing Mars, Moon, all kinds of gadgets. Your mobile phone shelf life is only 5 years. Probably you will use your palm itself as a screen in another 3 years' time. But the beauty in all of this is nobody bothers when new things come. We all jump into that as if it existed when we were born. Did any of you go to a class where they taught you how to use a mobile phone? Nobody went to a class. Even a vegetable vendor learned how to use a mobile phone. How? How many of you watch movies here? I am sure all of you watch movies. Have you seen a movie? How many hours? Maybe 1 hour or 1.5 hours. Everybody, or maybe some movies, maybe 3 hours. I don't know. Have you seen a movie where the story is told twice or thrice? Story is always said only once. Songs are also played only once. Dialogues are also only once. But friends, everybody in this audience, when you come out, you will know what is the color of the dress worn by the heroine. What is the stunt done by the hero. You will be able to repeat the story although you have just heard it only once. Why is it that we don't have the same mindset when we open the textbook? Hard work, sorry if I sound little vague, hard work according to me is a bogus concept. Kastam padaddu jeevitamlo, ishtam padandi. If you learn what you do, if you love what you do, you don't need anybody preaching you. It is very important in this context. Please remember, lot of evolutions will take place. Be ready to face the change. Go to the next one, please. There are only 3 things that you should remember. Just as the mind, body, and soul, knowledge, information, as well as wisdom. How many of you are using Google? I am sure all of you would have used Google. You can try this simple experiment right here in the hall. If you ask Google, tomato, what is tomato? It would say tomato is a fruit. You can try this out. But have you ever eaten a fruit salad where they use tomato? Tomato is a fruit, is information. Not using tomato in fruit salad is knowledge. Actually implementing it is wisdom. You should learn how to get knowledge. In internet there is a lot of knowledge, a lot of information available. There is very little knowledge. And the only way that can actually happen is if you keep your mind open. Go to the next one. I just listed some several technologies that would happen. I will not get into the detail except to tell you that you guys are very lucky. In fact, we saw computers only when we were in third year engineering. But today, I did not buy a single hard copy textbook to my own daughter. She studied everything with the help of Kindle. You are all born out of digital world. And I have immense faith in the youth of this country because you guys are very impatient. We were afraid to talk to our parents, but you are not afraid. You are going to tell somebody on the face, you are wrong. And I believe it is that impatience which will propel this great nation to greater heights in the years to come. Please don't ever stop asking question why and asking and questioning every decision that you do in life. Go to the next one. Of course, there are several things including electric aviation, carbon dioxide, climate change, all kinds of technology. But please remember, please protect this planet because this is the only planet on Earth that we have found till date where life exists in this universe. Nowhere else there is life. And notwithstanding all our great space odysseys, there is nowhere else there is life. Go to the next one. Of course, we are going to look at green hydrogen, whole synthesis, all kinds of things in the years to come. Go to the next one. I'll just spend some few minutes because you keep hearing about big data, artificial intelligence, neural network, and that is where the big jobs are there. In fact, the new names are coming up now. There is a job called data lake engineers. And whom do we need? We need people with mechanical, electrical, hardcore engineering background, but with an ability to do cloud computing, with an ability to plot thousands or millions of data points. Excel will not be able to plot more than 100 or 200 or maybe 1,000 data points. So cloud computing, so many things we keep hearing, and it is all in the mind. I told you that the mind has got 100 billion neurons. I don't know how many of you will remember the two names that I have mentioned here, two photos. Of course, the one from Vishweshwaraya is somebody who is known as one of the greatest engineers. In fact, a very interesting story in his life when he was traveling in a train in Nagpur, in the middle of the night, he pulled the chain. And he said, please go and see 3 kilometers at a distance, the fish bolt for the track has been removed. Because the track was removed, the fish bolts were removed, the vibration was completely different. And he said if he had gone, there would have been a major accident. That was probably the first example that I have read in my life on big data analytics and condition monitoring. Today, people are trying to measure the frequency of the bearing and trying to understand how long the bearing will survive. Of course, you would not have seen the monk that I have put in the bottom half. His name is Swami Sureshanandaji Maharaj. He was my warden in Shri Ramakrishna Vidyashala, Mysore, which is one of the oldest residential school where I was fortunate to study. And this Hindu monk during the stage of 1980s used to remember all the roll numbers of 400 people. He also used to remember our parents' name. He also used to remember from which place I actually used to come. In fact, when I joined engineering and when I was doing PhD in IISC, I used to remember 120 phone numbers. Today, touch wood, I only know the phone number of my wife. Otherwise, I cannot enter the home. We have stopped using our brain, which means that big data is not something that was there somewhere else. Today, much more than the brain, you will be able to remember. Go to the next one, please. Several things. I have just tried to summarize many things that are required in the near future. These are all in the industrial AI domain. Please learn statistics. Please learn cloud computing. Please learn and make friends from different disciplines. Learn to respect everybody's science. Future is actually yours. So in this one slide, you will find how the future disruptions are heading. Go to the next one, please. These are all some of the important technologies that I have listed in the digital world, which is very important for you. Maybe you can share this presentation with the participants in case if they are interested at much later. I will not get into the detail. Go to the next one. I'll just show you this one example. I will take about just 5 minutes and then before I wrap up, sir, because this is important, having traveled maybe more than 600 kilometers, give me another 10 minutes. I will wind up. I don't know how many of you know about this particular story. This man, whom you see is a nuclear scientist who was there in Iran. He was having coffee along with his friend. And what you see on the other side is a robotic rifle, which was actually operated 3,000 kilometers away by Mossad sitting in Tel Aviv. And they actually fired 2 bullets after recognizing the face of the nuclear scientist who was actually having coffee. Nobody else was actually damaged, no collateral damage. This is not some story. This actually happened about few years ago. This is the power of electromechanical systems seamlessly merging with computers today. In China, there is a very interesting app that people actually use. Every teacher has an app. There are several cameras in the auditorium. And if I take a good picture of your face, I can get close to 9 emotions to an accuracy of 95%. So the teacher will know how many times the student was looking at him, how many times he was seeing the mobile phone, how many times he was turning left side, right side, yawning. Things are changing at a very rapid rate today. This is one classical example of how electromechanical systems are merging. So one advice for you friends, please go back to your home and find out what is the voltage rating in your house. Can I change the electric bulb? Can I change the electric motor? Can I change and help my mother in the kitchen if her gas stove doesn't work all right? Engineers should learn to operate with your hands. Go to the next one. You can play this movie. This, of course, some of you might have seen with Boston Dynamics. And what is very interesting is China now has officially ordered manufacturing of close to 5,000 robots, which will be deployed in the shipping wreck, wherever they remove the goods from the shipyard, which means logistics, drones are going to become a reality. The robots are going to become a reality. Drone-mounted robots are also becoming a reality. Robotic soldiers is a reality. Of course, the Robo movie, which was so famously done by Shankar a few years ago, is actually a reality. And there are primary schools in China where a robo is actually teaching. Gone are the days if some teachers are there, teaching profession is going to be very, very risky. Please don't keep the old notes and continue to teach in classrooms, because a student will say, sir, I know where have you picked up these notes from. Information is not going to be the place for classrooms. Classrooms have to be a place where knowledge and wisdom can be actually shared. Go to the next one. Go to the next one. You can play this movie. This, of course, you would have seen some of these things by several companies where people are able to launch a drone from their palm top. They are able to make a small miniature drone. All of this is no longer cock and bull story as we thought 5 years back. And these are very good examples of how engineering has merged with fundamental science. And mathematics, so it is no longer STEM. Usually they say science, technology, engineering and mathematics. It is actually STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts and mathematics. I was so happy when Naresh Garu was actually having a small dance program in between talks. Do you know, friends, how much of mathematics is there in our own Nadhopasana? Do you know the mathematics in our classical music? There are courses today which are being taught using arts. 35% of our subject in engineering is actually arts today. Go to the next one. Next one. I'll just show you a few glimpses of my own laboratory, because Dr. Kalam was I was fortunate to work with him for about 6 to 7 years during the later part of my career. And the 2 photographs that you see here, he came, I remember in 94, he used to come there when he was the chairman of DRDO. The Agni program had just begun in a hypersonic wind tunnel. I told him that I have a shock tunnel where I can generate hypersonic flow, which is a flow where velocities are typically about 6,000 kilometers per hour. He asked me, can I see a shock wave? And I said, I have no money. And at that time, we ended up putting money from our PF to start a laboratory. Today, I am very glad to say that this is the largest laboratory of its kind, not in India, but in the entire world. And all the facilities that you see here, they all are being built by students like you from different parts of the country. And I now have professors from abroad who come and do sabbatical with us in IISc. It is a proud moment for all of us. And Dr. Kalam started the Center of Excellence in Hypersonics way back in 2010. Again, this looks like a fanciful thing where he handed over a check for 5 crores to my own director and said, catch hold of an youngster and dump hypersonics on his head. And that unfortunate or fortunate youngster was me. And the entire program actually was started like this. Normally, people write proposals and then go to funding agencies. I never actually wrote a proposal. It was he who said India needs hypersonics in a big way along with Dr. Shivutanu Pillai. Go to the next one. Hypersonics is one big technology. You will find a lot of interesting things. In fact, many news items you will read where you can go from Bangalore to Delhi in 15 minutes, Tokyo to New York in 2 hours' time. Today, a German company is thinking of having cargo transfer across the world in 1.5 hours. This is one classical example of interdisciplinary research. Next one. I will not get into the details except to tell you that our lab is involved in hypersonics and shock waves in a big way. Go to the next one. This is also a facility which I just put it here because it was initiated by Dr. Kalam and Dr. Saraswat way back in 2004. And at that point in time, there were no big programs in the country. Why we consider him as a great visionary is because he was able to see what others could not see. And he was also able to convince the system to support such things. Today, we have the largest shock tunnel which is being used for developing hypersonic technologies in the country. I'm sure the previous speaker would know he was involved in the hypersonic wind tunnel projects in DRDO. Go to the next one. There are several things. I will not get into these details. Go to the next one. Except to tell you, life, friends, becomes meaningful when you can wipe a single tear from anybody's common man's eyes. So I never thought one day I have given you a big lecture on science, engineering, and technology. I will show you only one example how in my own lifetime I was able to do science, engineering, and technology. One of my medical doctor, I wanted to become a doctor badly, but due to financial reason, although I got a seat, I could not pursue. I ended up being an engineer. But I am glad today I have graduated 2 doctors for their PhD program in IISc. So he came back from US and he asked me a very innocuous question. What happens to endothelial cell when they are exposed to shock wave? And that began our journey of trying to understand basic science. At that time, we never had an application in mind. But slowly over a period of time, it so turned out, today we have a device which is a wound healing device for diabetic patients. And normally for diabetic foot is a very common problem. The wound doesn't heal. But using shock wave, which is a part of hypersonic today, we are able to heal wound, not just in diabetic patient, even in our soldiers who are in the battlefield where there is a frostbite. And now a US company is funding this entire program to take it across the world. Very recently, the field trials are going on in the hospital. When I went, there was a teacher from a remote part in Karnataka. And on the day I went, his entire wound has actually healed. And the kind of feeling that all the entire family had was equivalent to much more than a Nobel Prize. The life becomes meaningful when you contribute to society. Atmano mokshartam jagathitaya cha, said Swami Vivekananda. Dr. Kalam kept on telling that you should serve the society. In fact, I remember once in Tanjavur during a breakfast, I asked him, sir, what is the way India can become a developed nation? He kept on, everybody were there and he asked all of them and they gave some answer, but he finally said, become the best electronic engineer, become the best mechanical engineer, become the best doctor, become the best in whatever you do, India will be a developed place. Friends, we need to take pride in whatever we do, and this is one such example where you can actually contribute and make money. Don't shy away from dreaming, designing, delivering, and making dollars. Lakshmi and Saraswati can reside in the same house. Don't shy away from thinking, if I read, I will not make money. It is very important for you to become your own, Go to the next one, please. Of course, don't take some photos. I am very glad that we were able to take the entire journey, and this is also first such project. Go to the next one. And you need to really figure out one slide. I just have 2 more slides. I will wind up. You need to acquire some skill in life, friends. Domain expertise is very important, as I told you. The skill can be anything. A vegetable cutter cutting vegetables beautifully is a skill. Mother cooking wonderful food is a skill. Please pick up a skill. Without skill, you will not be in a position to make a mark. Of course, you should not fall ill. Take care of your body. And you should also need to have a strong will. And of course, you should not have any frill. You should not have any kind of, ego. And the last one is you need to go for a kill whenever you have an opportunity. I will just wind up by saying, I don't know how many of you have had dosas? How many of you can make dosas? When you make dosa in your house, on a tawa, dosa tawa, if you take some water and put it on the hot tawa, what happens? It evaporates, right? Water evaporates. How many of you have seen a lotus flower? Have you seen a lotus leaf? Have you seen a dirty lotus leaf? Lotus leaf will never be dirty. Go back and check. Actually, there are nano ridges on the lotus leaf, and that is now a big idea on which paints are made where the dust doesn't stick. Imagine this situation. Early in the morning when you are walking, there is a small drop of water on the lotus leaf. Sun shines brightly. It glistens like a diamond. And usually lotus leaf will be drooping by 30 degrees. But when the wind blows, even that lotus leaf basically falls down. But the same drop of water, if it resides in a shell below the sea for about, say, 6 months, it actually becomes an invaluable pearl. Friends, your life is like the drop of water. It is you who should decide whether you want to become a drop of water on a dosa tawa which evaporates instantaneously, or you want to become a drop of water which glistens like a diamond for a short time on a lotus leaf, or whether you want to become that invaluable pearl. It is actually in your hands. It is in nobody's hands. Lot of people can give you advice, but ultimately, please remember, why do we remember Dr. Kalam? He will be remembered even after another 1,000 years. Why do we remember Vivekananda? Why do we remember Adi Shankara? Why do we remember Paramahamsa, Jesus Christ? All of them. Because they worked for the society. If you work for yourself, this world will mercilessly throw you out of the memory. If you want to really be known, then you need to make sure that we do something very critical. I'm always reminded of a very short story. I will tell this and conclude. It appears to a teacher who walked into a classroom, a young girl came up and held her hand like this and asked him, "Sir, please tell me what is in my hand." The only difference between teacher and you is I was born maybe 20 years earlier. The teacher saw the hand and said, "Oh, in your hand there is a butterfly." The students are she was very unhappy. Students always want to prove the teachers wrong. And the teacher always thinks he knows more than the student. The moment the teacher said it is a butterfly, the student asked the second question, "Sir, please tell me whether it is a male or a female." This is a very tricky question, right? But the teacher said in any case she cannot make out the difference. He said it is a male. The student asked the third question, "Sir, please tell me whether it is dead or alive." This is a very dangerous question because the butterfly lives for only 1 week. It is a 15 millimeter creature. If the teacher says it is dead, the student can simply open up and the butterfly will fly, teacher would be proved wrong. But suppose if the teacher said it is, alive, all that the student has to do is just tighten the wrist, it will die. So the teacher very quietly said, "It is all in your hands. Success, failure, happiness, sorrow. Friends, it is all in our hands. It is not in somebody's hand." Please remember, before I say this, and I just want you to watch in some close, just a half a minute video is there after this. Please remember in our life, let us always make sure that our tongue is always like a sugar factory. Tongue should be like a sugar factory. Please talk good things. Don't get angry. It is not worth it. Let your heart always be like a love factory, not Shah Rukh Khan love. You should love everybody. So your heart should be like a love factory. Your brain should be like an ice factory. Don't get angry. It is not worth it. Life is very short. Friends, if your tongue is like a sugar factory, if your heart is like a love factory, if your head is like an ice factory, your life will be satisfactory. I just want to go to the next one, please. Go to the next one. Sometimes I feel life keeps you busy like this. Just watch this movie, and I don't want you to get into this. Life is very, very short. So don't become, life is very, very short, right? So you enjoy life. Wish you all the best. The very fact that all of you have come here today and trying to spend some thoughts on Dr. Kalam is a very, very special thing. And in fact, Dr. Kalam, in fact, this is also a question that I asked him once, and he said, the only way we can change, get rid of corruption is in a house. If you refuse to wear the jewelry that is brought by your father, which you know is actually from corrupt means. If you refuse to get into a car which your father has got, probably that is the only way that you can, He was always a person who lived the life of a wonderful being. In some sense, he was very selfless. He was not really an engineer or a scientist or anything. To me, he was more like a saint who always believed the life is there only to serve the society. And it is in that context I would thank Naresh for the opportunity. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful session. Now I request Dr. Nagendra Babu, sir, to facilitate Professor Jagadeesh Garu.